Welcome to week 5 of Stevens Athletics Chat and Chew series. This week we're joined by junior thrower Jordan Detlet from the women's indoor and outdoor track and field team. Jordan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Always good to talk to student athletes, and you're one who we definitely enjoy talking to, especially when you stop by our office and say hello, and you take great photos for office. So we're really glad that you took some time to kind of talk about a whole different variety of topics with us today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk today.
The gimmick of the show, chat and chew. We always start with the chew first, and off the air, we had a great talk about pasta and gravy and meatballs and sauce and the difference between gravy and sauce, which we can always talk about, but we always want to make sure that our student athlete guest gets the first word in on what they've brought to share with us. So what'd you bring with us this week?
Well, today I want to give a little shout out to my friend Brett. I brought 2 clementines.
So we asked Brett last week if he was a fruit kind of guy. So that means we're going to ask you the same thing this week. Are you a fruit type? Is that your preferred fruit of choice?
Definitely. Clementines and apples. Big fruit girl. Always snacking on fruit.
Very nice. Very nice. How about track and field in general? I mean, we hear from the different teams, snacks of choice and how they kind of pass time, food in between events and things like that. What about for you guys?
Definitely, I'm always snacking on apples and pretzels. If you are around me at a meet, you know that I have the pretzel bin like right next to me. They even buy like the jumbo bins of pretzels just for me at this point because I eat so many when we're at the meets. It's insane.
Is it the pretzel, the twists? Do you like the pretzel logs, the sticks? What's your choice?
The classic pretzel, but mini. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
rolled gold.
Oh, brand as well, huh?
Yeah.
Well, they're not a sponsor, so we can't talk about the company. Just kidding.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, exactly. What about you ever go to like those Auntie Anne places and watch them make the pretzels?
Yes, those are so good. Whenever you walk into the mall and you smell that, you have to buy one at that point. You're already
Oh,
hooked
of
in.
course. Yep. The funny thing about as you're eating your clementine, the funny thing about pretzels is when you go to those places, right, is the person that's making them, they just do it like it's effortless, right? In 10 seconds, they put it
I know.
together.
It's such a skill. It's like muscle memory for them at that point. Like that's their sport.
Interesting. Interesting. And it's so funny, I think, to your point about kind of muscle memory and time it takes to do that. I think everybody kind of takes that for granted, right? That it's just that's people that make the pretzels, but there is a skill to it, to your point.
Yeah. I feel like I tried making empanadas the other day. This is kind of the same thing, but you like walk down the street sometimes at the vendors, like especially when I was in Europe, I would see like people making them like right in front of you, and it was always so amazing. And then when I tried to make it myself, I had no clue what I was doing. I was like, they do it so quick and effortlessly that I was like, oh, I shouldn't be that bad. And then I tried doing it, and I was like, wow, maybe I'm not that good.
Or even, I mean, I know you talked about Europe and, you know, I'll ask you a little bit about that in a second, but even within the United States, right? Like my colleague in the office, Doug Waters, he's from Texas. He talks about Texas barbecue versus, Memphis barbecue versus the stuff that we get at House of Q in Hoboken.
Yeah, there's a real difference. I mean, I was down south for a little bit, so I had my taste and fair share of barbecue, and I can't say any negative things about it. So, I mean, I'm not definitely not able to tell the difference, but there is one.
Oh, sure. And,
Yeah.
people almost become food snobs, right? So like, I'll take myself, for example. I grew up in New York, and so I love New York pizza. Hoboken pizza is in that same vein, right across the river. But like my brother's in Texas as well, and he talks about New York style pizza, and I said, well, you can't get New York style pizza in Texas, right? You get New York style pizza in New York, but
Yeah, it's not the same.
no, no, no. However, some place that you experienced that might have better pizza than New York even was.
Italy. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start. The food was so good, especially the pizza, because they just do everything so fresh, and it's always hot. It's always hot. They're never like keeping things in the windows because it's always selling out. So they're always making more, which is kind of the allure, I guess.
Among other things, right?
Oh, right. Of course.
So for those people who, like myself, that have never been to Italy, I mean, you always hear that it's nothing like what we have in the States with Italian food and pizza and things like that. How would you describe the differences between Americanized Italian food and authentic Italian food from Italy?
Some things there's not that much of a difference. They definitely know what they're doing, and people over here know what they're doing too if they've come from there. Some things to note: penny vodka, chicken parm. Those are not like real Italian dishes. They're like very Americanized. I love them both dearly.
I mean, who doesn't?
Trust me. But definitely none of that over in Italy. So
Interesting.
yeah.
When you were over in Italy, what were some of the other things that you enjoyed and saw and experienced?
I got to go to the Amalfi Coast, and that was by far my favorite. Rented out a boat, kind of like went around, went into some caves, which was really cool. And then I also went on a Vespa tour of Tuscany, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that when I was riding down the hills, I almost started to cry.
Really? Why?
It was so beautiful,
Mm.
and I never thought that I would be there in my entire life, so I was very lucky. And
What brought you there?
so I was doing an internship abroad, and I was working for Elite Toscana Brand Management, and they kind of like taught me like the ropes of like marketing and advertising in the business. It was really cool because they actually gave me real clientele, which was awesome. And they also took me to like a bunch of like really cool events, like PT Uomo, which is a really famous like men's fashion show. They were able to take me there, which was really cool. And there was a little bit of a language barrier, but we both kind of knew the basics of each other's language, so we were able to like communicate and like teach each other new skills and new things and help each other out. So I wouldn't have traded that experience for the world.
And I know we're way off topic, and that's okay, right? It's kind of the nature of talking. But how would you describe the internship experience, or even the co-op experience domestically with that kind of experience, or overseas?
So definitely right now it's definitely a different landscape than what it was last year.
Sure.
Applying for internships now, it's kind of hard because a lot of programs are canceling, and a lot of internships that I've like had interviews for, they've been for like maybe like temporary positions or unpaid positions. So it's really hard to find something that will give you good experience and will also be worth your time, because you always want to get like preferably a paid position. So applying right now is a little harder. But last year was interesting because I knew that I wanted to do an internship abroad because it was either intern or study abroad. And when I found the intern abroad option, I just figured that this was the best way to go, because I knew I wanted to get a real internship in this summer. Not that my last one wasn't real, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So.
And excuse me, when you're looking to do an internship abroad, because this is all new news to me, how is that something you do on your own? Is that something you do through contacts at Stevens? Is that through external contacts? Like how does that relationship with a company overseas develop?
So first I started off by visiting the study abroad office and talking to Susan. That's like the main contact at the office.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just got rolling right away. I went in like literally the first week of school, and I told them like I want to study abroad, but I also want to do an internship, and we discussed the options. And she was really helpful. They send you lots of emails, and Basically, when you're going through looking for an internship, you submit basically like a cover letter and a resume. The cover letter is like very general because you don't know who you're applying to yet. They kind of send applications out for you. And basically, like once a company kind of like takes a liking to you and approves you, you then interview twice more with them. You interview with like someone from the program that you're doing it through, and then you interview with someone from the company. And from there, once you do that, you get your acceptance letter, like maybe, I want to say like a couple weeks afterwards.
How many different companies did you interview with in that process? It sounds like a pretty cumbersome process.
It was definitely a little bit of a long process. I think I interviewed for 2, and then after that, I got my offer letter from Elite Toscana, which was really nice.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. New information.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. You said you're a thrower. So
Yes.
obviously your sport of choice at Stevens is track and field.
Mm-hmm.
How does one become a thrower? I mean, I think there's some natural progression for runners, but how does one get involved in the field events?
Okay, so I never did. I know there's a lot of like middle school track programs. I never did any of that. Like, was totally new. I was set on doing lacrosse when I was entering high school, so I wasn't going to be a track athlete at all because I was also on the swim team, so I never did indoor track. And basically, I realized that I was over lacrosse. Sorry to all the lacrosse players that are watching this. But I decided I wanted to try track because I was always pretty fast. I played soccer, so I was like, oh, I could run. And I started running, and I realized that it wasn't my thing. And I kind of took a liking to the throwers because I was always like, not like bigger, but I was always a little bit like stronger than like my other teammates in past sports. So I was like, maybe I could be a thrower. And I started my freshman year of high school throwing the javelin, the discus, and the shot put.
Wow.
And I made the varsity team my freshman year for the jav. We had relays in high school, which is like teams of 3 that basically all your scores add up together. I was part of a relay team that like won a couple competitions, which was really cool. And then from there, I kept with the javelin. I did discus, and I did shot put when I had to, which was indoor season. But yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of had a little bit of a knack for it, I guess. And from there, I just learned more technique, skill, and now I'm here, which is a really crazy journey looking back at it. So
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. How does I guess for lack of a better sentence, right? How does one talk to your non teammates in high school about throwing the javelin or throwing the shot, using the shot? Like, how does that converse? Because, oh, how was your basketball game last night? Oh, I had 10 points and 5 rebounds. Oh, oh, I threw the javelin 10 meters. Like that's not something that's
Yeah.
necessarily somebody, uh, you know, understands or can put into tangible,
Yeah.
detail.
I can't even tell you the amount of times that people ask me like what position I play in track, and I'm just like, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. I know they don't really understand, but I don't know. My friends, I kind of filled them in on the loop, just saying they kind of call it the big pointy spear. And that's how we communicated about it, the big pointy spear. And they would actually come to my competitions, which was really nice. I was lucky to have a lot of people that supported me. But they kind of like didn't know what was going on. So if like I had like a really bad throw or a really good throw, they wouldn't know how to react. So if it was really bad, they'd start cheering. I would look over at them. I'd be like, no, don't cheer. And then on the next one, if it was good, they wouldn't cheer because they think it's like bad because they had no idea. And it was kind of funny, like bringing my friends into like the loop of what I do, but especially my parents too. Like
Really?
we have I have an older brother. He never did track, so throwing was really new. Like nobody in my family had experience with throwing, so it was kind of like we were all figuring it out at the same time. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. What distinguishes, and I know obviously distance is kind of the marker, but from your perspective, what's the difference between a good throw and a bad throw?
Definitely how you feel. I'm personally somebody that throws how I feel. So if I'm having like a great day, like feeling super good, and I throw well, that basically feels like my body's doing something right. You kind of know. I can't. It's so hard to put into words. It's a definite feeling, and if you're throwing, like if you hurt your shoulder or your back, you know that's a bad throw because you weren't putting yourself in a good position. And if it's a good throw, everything feels smooth, everything feels fast and kind of seamless. um, Not just for the jab, but also for like the hammer. The hammer is a little bit touchy because um, it could get away from you. And I know I've definitely had my struggles working on pushing and pulling. There's like a fine balance. And you'll know when you pull and you know when you push, because if you push, you like fall over. And if you pull, you fall back. But when you have that equilibrium, I guess, you kind of feel it and it feels really right. So
Interesting.
it's just about feeling it out.
Hmm. So many sports are, person A versus person B, or team A versus team B. But I would say, track and field, throws events more than the field events rather than the track events. Swimming, diving rather, over swimming, gymnastics to a certain degree, where it's just you and whatever the apparatus or the device or the instrument that you use to compete. So how much of that is you visualizing kind of or having good equipment that you work with? Or I mean, am I off on how I'm making that analysis? Or
No, definitely not. I always, when I'm trying to explain track, I always relate it to swimming and I always relate it to wrestling because really when you go to the events, they're very similar. It's one person competing, but at the same time, you're working together for a team.
Mhm.
Like you're working under the umbrella of a team, but you're also trying to gain some personal success, I guess. Um,
Sure.
so you're definitely on the mark with that because I would say the same thing.
Okay. I know Coach Harden always talks about scoring points, right? That's his big motto.
Yes.
So
Um,
it's to your point, right? How can you help score points towards the overall team total?
exactly. You are there to do your best and perform your best. And if you give 100%, then that's all we can ask of you. If you score points with that, that's even better. That's what we're going for, especially at like championships, MAC championships.
Mhm. Take us through the scope of the season, right? So track is kind of a unique sport that, yeah, you guys are all one team, but you really split not just between seasons, indoor and outdoor, but you're also split between groups. You have the sprints group, the distance group, the throws group, the jumps, and so on and so forth. But take us through the scope of kind of the indoor season this year, between the first event and up and through the MAC championship.
Okay, so winter season, usually we have like a pretty long preseason because if you're cross country, like you're training in the summer, but if you're a winter sport, you start training in like October. So really everything starts then. Um, getting into shape, getting back into the flow of it so that by the time it's competition season, you are ready to compete. You are in competing shape. You're not behind. And the coaches are actually very meticulous about setting up these stages. They basically set us up so like maybe in the weight room we'll max out, and that's in like October. And then from there we have our base and you kind of start building, and they build so that our peak is the championship season. They actually did a really great job of that this season. And it's really cool to watch because every competition people keep improving and it's all part of the plan. But in terms of the team in general, everyone came in. No one really knew like the younger kids, but they really came in and they incorporated themselves into the team, which is great. I really love the team chemistry that we have this year because usually sometimes there's a divide among like event groups, and it's the same for every track team really. But this year I really felt like we were a very whole team. We would volunteer together, have events together. We did pasta parties on the women's team, and we had game nights. And even when we're at the hotels, when we compete, it's always a lot of fun. Like there is no segregation of event groups. Everyone's sitting together. And I think that definitely has to do with success, because when you know you have a team that meld so well together, it definitely contributes to the chemistry, which relates to how you feel when you compete and like how your teammates bring you up. And it's all related in a very like complicated scheme. But this season was definitely, I wish we had a chance at the outdoor season, because if the winter was any inkling to what it would be, then it was going to be an absolutely insane season for both the men and the women. So
In your opinion, just because you talked about kind of the indoor and the outdoor season, besides the obvious, right? Indoor facility, outdoor facility, right? Is there a big difference between the indoor events and the outdoor events?
no, there's more events outdoors, which is the major difference. And I know a lot of people prefer outdoors because of that. There's more opportunity to score points and more events that people generally enjoy because you're also outside.
Sure.
But that's the biggest difference. Other than that, there's no difference in the rules or anything. Everything stays the same.
So what about in terms of your preparation?
Preparation, once we know what happens after max, so once max happen, if you move on to regionals, you keep training. If you go on to nationals, you keep training for that event. But generally, I know for the throwers, definitely once max is over and you're not moving on, we start throwing hammer and we start doing disc. We do disc sometimes in the winter, but not that much because we're using the net we have in our facility for the weight throw. And like javelin throwers, they're practicing in the winter because they can't do an event in the winter if they don't do weight. But we definitely start training outdoor events because throwers have more events in outdoor seasons. So we definitely start on that once max is over and we can start focusing on it, because we want to keep focused in for the winter season while we can. And then once it's over, then the party starts.
And then in terms of event to, within those events, right? So does your training for indoor events, do you train one specific way, and then outdoor events you train a different way, or is it just kind of the same thing that the coaches are preaching throughout the academic year?
It's definitely the same principle, I would say. That we have like volume days, we have technique days, and those translate from indoor to outdoor. It's just different events, different drill days. Well, the drill days stay the same, but different drills on those days. And just kind of targeting the other muscles that we need to kind of like do the other events correctly, because each event totally like feels different. Even if they're similar, they feel different, so you need to like start working on that muscle memory. And other than that, the structure is pretty much the same, if not a little different.
Interesting. Now, Coach Harden brought in a new coaching staff. It's Coach Kolobab and Coach Wilson. Exciting times and different times for you guys. What was it like getting adjusted to Coach Wilson and his style?
So, big fan of both of them. They bring so much charisma and personality to the team.
Two great words to describe each coach. Fantastic.
Yes, exactly. You know who I'm talking about, so you understand. But definitely in the beginning, I was there for some of the interview process. I was able to meet Coach John for the interviews. I didn't meet Coach Tim, but like Katie Weeks knew Coach Tim, and when I was talking to her about it, because we had to choose and I wanted to get her perspective, she knew Coach Tim, and she said that she felt like he would definitely melt with our group and kind of like seamlessly join, and she couldn't have been more right. He is honestly the best. He is, because they're both so young, it's so easy for everybody to relate to them. I mean, I feel like their personalities more have to do with it, but the fact that they can like share their experience with us, like we always joke around with them about like college and stuff, and they kind of get what we're going through. So especially if we're facing tough times and conflicts with like class and stress, they're pretty forgiving with things like that. And they both came from big programs and they both excelled. So they are definitely very knowledgeable, and it was really easy to trust them from the beginning because they built that rapport and they talked to us, reached out to us personally, and kind of made sure that they understood every athlete individually, which was really important because they knew that the way that they coached had to be individualized instead of like a broad umbrella. So them getting to know and taking the steps to get to know all the athletes was huge. It just showed a lot about their character, and it was super easy to trust them. And they're both goofballs, so it was super easy to joke along with them, which makes it even better. Like the relationship between them and all the athletes is so much stronger because we know when to joke around, we know when to work hard, and having them there to be able to joke around with us kind of incorporates and like solidifies them in the team.
I just so much Cleveland sports though out of Coach John. Too much.
He loves those Cleveland sports. He's got the mugs in his office, everything, all of it.
Yeah, I don't know how him and Coach Jim share the office. That would drive me crazy. Cleveland Browns and oh my gosh. The only thing is that Coach John, he's a Xavier grad, so I'm a big Xavier fan. So that's a saving grace for him. But you're right though; they're both great guys and great additions to our staff.
Yeah, I agree.
In addition to your academics, in addition to your competing as a thrower, in addition to all the photos you're taking for the department, you're also involved in a pretty big group on campus. How did you get involved in StevensThon, and would you mind kind of explaining and sharing with our viewers a little bit about Thon's mission and kind of exactly what goes into the events that you guys put on?
Sure. Should I give you like a little elevator pitch?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So StevensThon is a year-long philanthropic organization that raises money for Children's Specialized Hospital in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Our hospital runs completely on donations, so they rely on schools like us to raise money to give the kids the treatment and therapy that they deserve. We raise money because we believe that every child deserves a chance to have a childhood. Like, we're all like, I know being an athlete, I couldn't imagine not doing sports growing up or like riding my bike and going swimming. And so to see that some kids don't have the ability to do so was really hard for me. to kind of like wrap my head around and to think of how kind of privileged I was to be able to do so growing up. And I knew that I wanted to give back to my community. So when I transferred to Stevens, I was put into an off-campus housing. So I was rooming with 3 older girls, and one of the girls was on the StevensThon team, and she was super into it, always like saying good things about it and all the things that they were doing for the kids. And I was really inspired. And since I was new, I was kind of looking for a way to get involved on campus besides being on the track team. And I kind of wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself because I wanted to have some sort of purpose. So I didn't want to I knew that I didn't want to waste my time at school not doing anything when I knew that I could have been positively affecting somebody else. And that was a really big deciding factor for me. I joined my freshman year as a dancer, went to the dance marathon, and saw some miracle kids, which are the kids from the hospital. And I was really touched. And I decided to run for the e-board the next year because my roommate was going to be the executive director. So I ran, I became the graphic design public relations chair, and I loved it so much that I decided to come back for this past year, and I was the external director. So I basically oversee all promotional activities within Thon. And especially with this tough time, like it still blows my mind how much people are willing to give back and support our cause on campus. Especially this year, we've gotten so many people involved, and it was really humbling for me. So I knew that I wanted to do it again. So I'm doing it again next year.
And you have some big news there.
Yes, I do. I was elected to be the executive director of StevensThon, so I will be overseeing all activity and under the StevensThon umbrella. So I'm beyond excited. I'm super ecstatic. I sent out the executive team applications, so if you're watching this, those are open.
Well, congratulations on your position for next
Thank
year.
you.
I'm sure it's well deserved. We'll talk a little bit about this year and kind of the unique circumstances that have just happened. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes, but take us through what the usual dance marathon is, because you mentioned that's how you got your start in it. You said you got your start and volunteered as a dancer, but I'm not necessarily sure that our viewers know what that means.
Yeah, so the dance marathon, there's over 400 schools across the United States that have dance marathon programs. The dance marathon itself, it can either range from a 6-hour event to a 48-hour event like Penn State does. Ours personally is 12 hours, and usually it's through the night, and you can't sit down for the entire time because you're trying to almost like emulate what the kids have to go through when they go through treatment and therapy. So you can't sit down for the entire 12 hours. And there's a lot of dancing. There's games. Last year we had bubble soccer. We had Zumba, karaoke, silent disco, relay races. And we had a lot of places bring food. And really, if I could describe it in like a couple words, I would say it's one long party.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a long party where we raise money for the kids, and at the end we have like a big reveal of how much we raised, and it's kind of like all worth it because then after that you get to sit down and kind of like reflect on the entire journey of the whole year. But at the dance marathon itself, we have a lot of people come and sign up. We have organizations perform. We have like community hour where like organizations can like sell things and the proceeds go to the kids. We have like kid art auctions. And the first time I saw a kid art auction, I was blown away because like one drawing went for like $1,000. I was like, what? I thought it was gonna go for like $30, but like people kept like raising the bar. And I was amazed. I was honestly like could not speak. I was like, what is going on? But it's really just a lot of fun. Like I know for a fact that last year there was not once when I was like not laughing or smiling. I was taking pictures, like everyone was having a great time, and being in that environment, it was so rewarding, you know? And
Mhm.
like having the miracle kids there and hearing their stories, it was so humbling because they're speaking about their experiences, but yet they've come so far. So one of the kids, his name is Kenny, he's 21, so he's our age. And last year, with the help of our donations, he was able to buy a brand new $5,000 electronic wheelchair,
Oh,
which is a
wow.
huge cost on the families. And he was able to move out into his own assisted living apartment, which was huge.
Oh, wow.
He was ecstatic. I actually think I'm pretty sure he's actually in his 30s. He's not our age, but one
Mhm.
of the other kids is. But he finally got to move out, which was really fun to see his reaction and his mom's reaction too.
Mm.
Um, but the whole experience is just so rewarding.
Are those events, they're held in Walker?
Yes. So Walker is typically where we'll have it. I know we used to have it in the fourth floor of Howe.
Mhm. Bissinger?
Um, yes, Bissinger, but Walker with the wheelchair chair ramps that we've built, it's a little more accessible now for the
Mhm.
families, and it's a bigger space, which is nicer.
What is that? You talked about rewarding, you talked about kind of wanting to give back and things that are bigger than you. How would you summarize that? Here you are doing this life-changing thing for this person, Kenny, for his family, for his, you've changed his life. How does that impact you? How does that impact you? How does it impact your fellow students that are involved in Thon?
It really gives you perspective. It makes you grateful, thankful for the things that you have and the things that you're able to do. Um, I know personally when I was hearing the story, I'm kind of an emotional person. So I know I was tearing up when I was listening to it and how much we were able to help them out and give them the treatment that they needed and deserved. And for me, it definitely I don't know how to describe it, but it definitely made me realize that there are some things that are definitely worth fighting for and supporting, and raising money for the kids was my way of giving back. And I know that the impact that I've made has kind of made all the sacrifice and all like the stress revolving around it really worth it. So
Is that the hospital that you guys work with? Is that based out of Robert Wood Johnson in New Brunswick?
yes it is.
Do you guys? How often do you guys, as a group, get to interact with the children or their families?
So usually we only like really see them in person when we um have the dance marathon at we'll have like hospital retreats where we go to the hospital, but
Mhm.
they won't be there. Maybe we'll see like a couple of patients and we'll interact with them, but not necessarily the miracle kids. Um we do talk to them throughout the year. We write them letters and stuff, and we write them cards for holidays. We talk to them through our hospital advisor, Kayla. She's amazing. She helps us like get content from them. They send us videos and dances, and it's really fun. But definitely one of my goals for this year is to physically interact with them a lot more and kind of maybe have events where they're there. I
Mhm.
think that would be, I think it would be fun for them too because they're always looking to have a good time. and I think that they would really appreciate it.
How many people, not just Ybor, but just the entire, how many people are involved with Thon on campus?
So the executive board this year was 12 people, and then we had 10 morale captains. So that's kind of our team. And then we had 331 registered participants this year, which was awesome.
Do you know how many of those are athletes or student athletes?
Yes. So,
Ballpark, nothing, I'm just out of curiosity.
yeah, probably around 200 were athletes.
Oh, wow. It's a big number.
Yeah.
It's a
And
big
we
number.
had a ton of athletic teams also sign up. So you can sign up under a team, and a lot of the sports teams signed up and were actually top fundraisers.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year's dance marathon was different. Had to be
Right.
different. We're in unprecedented times. Take us through how Thon adjusted to the current conditions and take us through the group's virtual dance marathon.
So when the whole pandemic kind of came about, we knew that we probably weren't going to go through with the dance marathon. It was just way too risky, especially if we wanted Miracle Kids to be involved. So we knew that was off the table, and for about 5 weeks, we didn't fundraise, we didn't raise any money because everything was still so fresh that we thought that it was just wrong to even try, in a time when so many people are struggling, we didn't think it was right to really go out and ask people to donate. But we had this idea. Emily Walker came up with it. It was to have a virtual dance marathon instead and have it throughout the day so that people could stop by and see what we were doing. And we kind of ran with it. We got videos from people. We had a cooking class, we had an art class, we had Zumba, we had yoga. We had a lot of people contribute into giving us content. We had Miracle Kid interviews, which were really cute. And it was definitely new territory, but it was a huge success. In the week before the dance marathon, we realized that the pandemic does not stop the children's needs for treatment and therapy. If anything, it amplifies it because they need just as much protection, even more, because some of them might have congenital disorders and things like that. So we decided that it was a responsibility to give back. And in doing so, we decided to donate half of our proceeds to the Children's Specialized Hospital COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund. So half of our donations were going to that to support frontliners and to advance the technology of like telehealth services, buy personal protective equipment and ventilators for the kids. And the other half went to the hospital for treatment and therapy and stuff like that. So in the week before the dance marathon, we raised $16,000 after
Wow.
not raising anything for 5 weeks, which was incredible. And I remember we hit $20,000 the night before the dance marathon, and we were content. We were beyond content. We said if this is all we do, then we did our part. This is plenty. And a lot of people really showed out on the day of the dance marathon, and it was a huge success. And moving forward, we're definitely going to keep the virtual aspect of dance marathon, even if we can still have a physical dance marathon. But it was a lot more accessible for people because everyone's looking for something to do. So
Sure.
it was a great success.
The interviews were great. I enjoyed the karaoke, to be honest with you.
Yes, that was fun.
It was very enjoyable to watch. Speaking of dollars and cents, share with us that final number because it's fantastic.
So as of right now, we have raised over $31,000 for the kids.
That's amazing. That's a testament to to Emily's leadership, to the group, the people that you mentioned that worked so hard to make sure that the virtual site could be put together. I mean, that is an amazing, amazing job.
Thank you. We're really proud.
And just as impressive, you told me off air about the percentage of athletes that were able to contribute in these times, and that was also an outstanding number, an amazing job by our student athletes.
Yeah, so we had over 190 athletes raise over $11,000.
Again, stunning numbers in this climate, in this era of uncertainty. It's a testament to our athletes' families and friends that just want to do something bigger than themselves, like you said.
Yeah, I was blown away. When we revealed the number, I was choked up.
Now, what do you guys do for an encore?
I I've got a tough act to follow, so we'll see.
How do you guys I'm going to use the word celebrate, but that's not really the word that I mean, but how do you guys celebrate that success?
Well, we were all together on the phone call when it happened, and we revealed it, and we just kind of were like screaming, like super excited, a lot of emotion, all together. But we wanted to do it together. That was the most important part. In terms of celebrating, just little brags, like spreading it all over social media, having everybody say what they donated, what they fundraised, because really we couldn't have done it without everybody that contributed. So
Yeah, and like I said, celebrate's not the right word, but it's the word that comes to mind, and that's the perfect way to do it, right? To brag about, and maybe brag's not necessarily the word you mean either,
yeah,
I know what you mean, right? Because once those numbers were revealed, I feel like they were everywhere.
Oh yeah.
The school sent it out, the student accounts, the alumni, like every account, every group that has powerful social media channels circulated that information. I was like, wow, what a great testament to everybody kind of sharing a goal.
Yeah, everyone coming together and working for like one cause in a time when we can't even be together.
Yeah, it's a great point, Jordan. Has that aspect of this been hard for you in general? Just not necessarily being able to be with your friends or be with your professors or your teammates?
Definitely. I actually just did a research paper on the effects of online learning for students and kind of got some feedback from that. And a lot of people aren't doing well with like online learning, but I think a lot of people are missing their friends and being outside and doing fun things. I definitely miss my friends, and I feel like I'm missing out on a semester of competing with some of my best friends on the team, and I think that's what hit me the most. And in terms of school, I mean, school is fine because there's nothing else to do but school. But I love spending time with my family and especially spending time with my dogs. So,
Which hit you harder? The NCAA saying there was going to be no spring or no completion of the spring athletic season, or return home and go to online classes?
the spring season, because it's something that you look forward to from the beginning of the winter season. In my personal experience, I know I'm always looking forward to the spring season, and it was really hard for some of the athletes, especially the javelin throwers, because they trained the entire year just to not be able to compete outside. And it was kind of hard because those are your best friends. You spend your whole like college career basically with them, and not being able to spend time with them like that anymore is kind of hard, and definitely a little bit of off kiltering, but you find ways to get around it. So
Sure. Would you say that there's a difference between the time that you spend with your teammates as teammates versus the time you spend with your teammates as friends?
Um, I am not. I think so. There's like a really tiny difference, but I barely even notice it.
Sure.
Like I consider my teammates my best friends because it the seam is so like seamless.
Hmm.
That was
That
really
makes sense.
repetitive.
No,
But
no, it was fine. I know
I didn't
exactly
know
what
what
you
to
mean.
say.
No, you're fine.
Um,
I know what you mean.
yeah, I really feel like they are my best friends just because we do so much together and we just act like we're friends. It's not really like they kind of go well together because we're not afraid to like correct somebody on something in practice out of fear that they're going to think that we're being like judgy or mean. We're just friends trying to help friends.
Sure.
And it definitely helps with the chemistry within the team because we are so close. We have so many like dinners and we like do things together all the time. And I feel like if you can't be like good friends with your teammates, then um, I feel bad. Yeah.
What's that old expression? If you can't be friends with so and so, then who can you be friends with? Right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing if the world returns to normalcy tomorrow? What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Um, I'm gonna meet up with my friends, probably my hometown friends, because everyone else is very spread out. Gonna meet up with my friends and gonna go get ice cream and go to the beach.
What's the ice cream of choice?
Oh my gosh. Right now, I'm obsessed with cookie dough.
Really?
Obsessed. It's bad. But if I was at the beach, it would be Coors ice cream, vanilla swirl with rainbow sprinkles.
Have to have the sprinkles, right?
Yeah, I have to. It's not the same without it.
Is that the in terms of branding? Do you have one preference over another, or it's all kind of the same thing?
If definitely when it comes to soft serve, there's a I prefer Coors.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about in town in Hoboken?
In town, I live across from Ben and Jerry's, so guilty of being partisan.
Yeah, I guess I'm guilty there too. That's
Yeah.
my spot there too. The chocolate therapy, delicious.
Oh yeah, I love half baked and fudge brownie.
I see like a swirl thing that you kind of like there, right? You like the fudge brownie and you like the vanilla swirl on the boardwalk, right?
Mhm. Same thing,
Yeah.
different forms.
Yep. Yep. I get it. I get it. What are your plans for the summer? I know we talked about how the internship landscape is very, very different. Is that still the goal for you, is to try to figure that out? Or does there come a point where you just say, it's not going to work out and you kind of look forward to the fall?
I'm definitely still trying, still applying. Um, I know personally that I would rather be working during the summer. Um, I like to keep busy and I like to like use my time wisely. So having a learning experience of some kind would be really nice. If I don't get an internship, knock on wood, um, I would probably be focusing more on Thon or just getting a job that's local. Um, and then beyond that, I would look forward to the fall.
Looking ahead to the fall, big year for you, big year for the team, hopefully, in the conference.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to um, about the 2020, 2021? That's a mouthful. Um, season and competition.
um, Definitely, I'm looking forward to coming back stronger. Maybe not stronger, but having people be prepared for the competition now that we just spent our first year in the MAC. So I think we kind of know who we're going up against, which will play in our favor when we go back to the Winter Championship. Um, I'm definitely excited to bond with my team again. I can't wait to like see them and hang out with them and make more memories. And I'm also really excited because I'm finally starting like classes that I'm going to really enjoy. And I really think that the fall and the spring of this year are going to be huge. It's my senior year. Going to be running StevensThon, the track team, and taking photos.
What speaking of academics, take us through some of the intricacies of your major, because you're not necessarily in the business majors per se. You're not necessarily in the comp sci. You know, your major, while academically difficult and things like that, isn't something that not necessarily everyone would be familiar with.
Right. I like to call my major art engineering, so it feels like inclusive. But
That's probably what Steven should do, right? You know, throw
yeah,
engineering at the end of it, and everybody would get, you know.
exactly. Um, but so next year I'm going to be starting my capstone. Basically, it's kind of like senior design for regular engineering students, but it's a project on whatever you want. It takes a lot of planning. Like I've already started planning and brainstorming, and we've been working on it in a class that's dedicated just to thinking about it and building your resume and building your cover letter and other things like that. So it's called professional practices, and it's just for visual arts and technology majors, which is really cool. My major specifically, a majority of the core classes are 4 hours. So they're called studio classes, and those are kind of the bulk of your learning. And what you do in those classes, once you become a junior, it's more specialized. So my concentration is in design. So I'm taking design 3, and you kind of get more specialized as you go on, which is pretty common for a lot of majors, but especially in art, you start finding your style, how you like to express yourself, different ways and forms. And they really do a great job at giving you a taste of everything. You do video, you do animation, you do graphic design, almost anything you can think of, drawing, painting, photography. I've pretty much done it all, which is really useful. I've done sculpting and woodworking, and all the professors are really experienced. We have visual art and technology talks where we have a guest artist come in and kind of talk to the class about her craft or his or her craft. And it's really valuable because they kind of teach you how they got to that point and how to basically like sell your work and like sell your skills. And I definitely love my major. I've paired it with marketing as a minor, just so I can learn how to get a little bit into the business and corporate world, because that is where I would eventually like to end up. But other than that, I think my major is so interesting, and I know that I'm never going to have a boring job, which I love about it.
Good. What's the ultimate career goal then? I know you said you wanted to get into the corporate world, but doing what?
Right. So off the bat, I would like to work with either architecture and planning. I would like to like plan interior spaces, and then as I grow older, I would eventually like to become an interior designer. But starting off with graphics and design planning, design strategy, that's the goal right now. Maybe even like fashion merchandising and advertising. There's such a large scope of things that I could go into that the possibilities seem endless, but right now the goal is an architecture planning firm.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, when we're wrapping up our interview, we always give the student athlete the last word. So the floor is yours to send messages to your student athletes, to visitors, to fans, to whomever. The floor is yours.
So first of all, thank you for watching this far. I'm glad you think that I'm interesting. I'm very excited to go into senior year with a bunch of my best friends, best teammates, and I'm excited to see what the track team does, what every other sport on campus does, and I'm really excited to see how everyone comes together and supports StevensThon as a cause. And that's it. Good luck, everybody. Have fun with online classes and have a great summer.
You've been watching this week's episode of Chat and Chew with Track and Field's Jordan Detlet. We'll see you next week with Stevens Athletics. Thanks for watching.